Hey everybody, Karen from Atmospheric Guides. I hope you're doing well today. Are you enjoying the Ann Tucker series that I'm doing? So we're on episode 3. This is not a book club. What we're doing is examining some of the things that her guides have communicated in this book, particularly in chapter 5, about what's coming up for us in the world, and particularly in the United States, and asking the lead team questions. All right. And I'm also looking at the astrology around the messages just so we can get a sense of like how they all tie together. Because I find that very interesting that the astrology is actually supporting the question is, especially as we go forward in these additional episodes, is the astrology supporting the messages and the timing of things? Now, they don't give real specific timing in here because they basically say, like what we've been talking about, is that, timelines and everything can shift. But they keep saying very soon, and the near future type of thing. Okay. So in the last episode, we examined the passage describing how disruption may appear in the United States, but probably around the world, after the United States begins to separate. So we have already explored that. So you're like, what? The United States begins to separate? What does that mean exactly? Now, they say that, and Anne has her own interpretation of it, which I'd encourage you to read the book. I do have the link in the description below. If you want to support our channel, we get a little commission, but it doesn't raise your price on getting the book through our link. So she basically, so it's open to interpretation. Like, I'm kind of seeing things. We could literally do a separation between red states and blue states. They do say it's not a rift, it's not a planetary rift, or it could be this whole, although it wouldn't make sense to me actually, the 3D to 5D shift, that wouldn't quite make sense to me, because why would it only be in the United States, right? So it may very well be that sort of or it could be like a separation from federal government. I don't know. Maybe we don't have a federal government anymore. I don't know. But actually go back to the previous episodes and you'll get a sense of what the lead team says about that. Okay. So today we're going to continue with the next sections of what's coming next by Ann Tucker. These passages focus on how people are encouraged to live during uncertain periods and the early signs of economic disruption. Okay, so again, going over what her guides are communicating about that. Okay, so let's see. So guidance about living during the transition. So this is what is said in the text. This is what her guides have said. And then I'm going to ask after we look at the astrology a little bit, I'm going to ask some questions about it. So her guides say, continue to invest in your lives as if the world will continue as it has been. That's very helpful. Do not stop building your life or working towards your dreams. Everything comes down to energy. The energy you invest in what matters will carry you forward into the new reality. So they're saying new reality, okay? And things do kind of come in stages. Look at this last year and a half. Look at how much we have changed, all of us individually, us as a community. Look at how much things have changed. We've become more aware of things. Some of us, it just depends on what you've focused on, right? So the energy you invest now will carry forward into the new reality. So I love that. All right. So, it's like, I really do want to travel, but then you go like, do I feel safe traveling now? There's so many weird things going on. And it's like, well, yeah, continue doing that until, maybe actually what Anne says, she's going to kind of continue her life until she starts to see the beginning of the separation. Now, what that means is going to be open to interpretation, and I'll try to focus on that at some point in the future, depending on when that starts to look that way. I'll come back with the lead team and see, like, is this the time we should maybe hunker down right now? I don't know, So that's what Anne said, is she feels better knowing that understanding there's this separation, and that's kind of a time period for her to live her life up until that point, basically, and then reassess, right? So in terms of the astrology, new societal cycles that began 24 to 26, which is right now. So there was new societal cycles starting in the astrology, often coincide with periods when societies are changing while innovation and rebuilding begins. All right. In the U.S. chart, leadership and national direction cycles. So leadership and national direction, meaning where are we going nationally, cycles remain active through the late 2020s. So we've got, 4 more years for the astrology to offer the U.S. chart, actually, that leadership and national direction cycle, which historically have often been followed by reform and renewal. So the cycles, I'm just kind of trying to interpret this. So in the U.S. chart, the last time we've seen a cycle like this, it has historically been shown that it follows by reform and renewal, which is really positive. That's really positive. But that is like 4 more years. We're still sort of in the astrological sense in that time period. Okay. So let's just ask the lead team a little bit about, their suggestion on how we're supposed to live during this time. All right. So I close my aura to all but my higher self, the God consciousness, my guides, guardians, the lead team collective, and only those of the highest and purest light, and ask Archangel Michael to please protect my channel, your channel, our community, the lead team collective, so it is only of the highest and purest light. Amen. Hey, lead team. How you doing today? Thank you as always for being here and for all your support and guidance of our community. Very much appreciated. Okay, so lead team, we've got some questions in this continuing series about what Anne has been discussing with her guides, what she's been channeling. Ann Tucker, yes. Can you just confirm for those who are maybe just listening to this episode for the, of the series, the first one, maybe for those who are just listening to episode 3 as the first episode of their series, whatever, you know what I mean. What Ann Tucker is channeling, is that accurate information? Yes. Okay. And it's worthy of us having this conversation based on what she's been channeling? Yes. Okay. Is this something you want us to be doing in this community, is having this conversation? Yes. Do you think it is helpful for us as a community to while we focus on spirituality, and do you think it's helpful for us as a community to examine current events together as a community? Yes. Okay. Do you think we should exclude examining current events and just stick with spiritual topics? No. Do you think we should be examining current events on the peripheral of the events themselves? And yes, and what I mean by that is not like getting into the controversial, I don't know. I'll have to figure it out because in this community. So if you've joined this community and it was mostly all spiritual conversation, you didn't realize that when I started the community, it was actually based on politics. It was based on current events. So for a year, we talked about current events. some very spiritual stuff too. I mean, it was always from a spiritual perspective. Let's just put it that way. And then I did like 3 months of just spiritual stuff. And now we're kind of like back and forth. But I know it's confusing for some people. It's like, what the hell is going on around here? But, that's the way it goes. This is how I've been guided, and I'm just following my guidance. So, okay. So lead team, we got some questions here then about what we've been talking about here on how you want us to continue living our lives during uncertain times, basically. So are we meant to continue building our lives even during this time period? You want us to continue building? Yes. Do you want us to continue going after our goals and dreaming and still feeling like we have a really full future in front of us? Yes. Is it safe for us to continue traveling? Okay, so they're saying yes and no. So obviously, as soon as I said it, I thought, well, we definitely have to, entertainment purposes only, and definitely use your own judgment. Okay, allegedly. Does it make a difference on what parts of the world we travel in? That's yes. Okay. Would you say that obviously the Middle East is kind of off limits right now? Yes. Okay. I mean, there's people trying to get out, not go in, right? So would you say that Americans should be comfortable traveling in Europe right now? Yes and no. Okay, so it just depends on the location and okay. All right, so again, just use your own judgment. Could focusing on meaningful work and relationships help individuals move through periods of change? Yes. Could fear about the future prevent us from recognizing opportunities that will come up that have never come up before, probably? Yes. So that's a good reason to stay as level-headed as you can, which is one of the reasons why I go back and forth on examining current events with you guys, because it helps me, and I know it helps many of you, stay level-headed. Yes, they're saying yes. Okay. Could creativity and innovation increase during periods of systemic transition? Yes. So this is a very good time for creativity and seeing the world anew. So and what we've been talking about in the series already and going forward as well, the deconstruction of current systems, which tends to be very scary, and it can be, but it doesn't have to be, right? All right. Could individuals help stabilize the collective by choosing calm and purpose rather than fear? Yes. Yes. That's a no-brainer, but good confirmation. Okay, so more text from the book. This is on banking disruptions, okay, from the book. So her guides say there will be waves in the economy. All right, there always is, A time will come when people no longer, allegedly, entertainment purposes only, have access to money invested in banks and deposit boxes. There will be a turnover, a flip of sorts. Stocks will rise, then fall again. All right. So I have been in the last year very aware and watching many different people on the economy, trying to find the people that I can, that I resonate with, basically, that I feel are telling what they know is their truth and using data and the facts and all that kind of stuff. So, the whole thing about let me just ask them. So, and again, this is not financial advice whatsoever. It's just stuff for you to consider, okay? So is the wave in the economy, so we've been seeing waves in the economy over the last, there's always waves in the economy. Last April, the market went down 20% in a day or something like that. Not in a day, but, it was pretty quick, actually. Wasn't that the tariff day or And prior to that, there was another time. I don't know. So is that waves in the economy? Would that be considered? No, that's just stock market. Okay. So we're talking bigger economy stuff. All right. So is the Trump administration, when they release reports about unemployment, all that kind of stuff, are those accurate reports that we get on the days that they come out? No. Okay. So this is my understanding because I've been watching this stuff. What happens is, and this is not just the Trump administration, this is pretty consistent of what administrations do, like the Fed, is they will, and again, this is based on you got to go out and do your own research. Okay. I'm just going to give you little hints of things I'm learning. Doesn't mean I'm an expert at all, and I never will be. Okay, but these are things I'm learning. And so if you have different things you're learning, feel free to put them in the comments. Okay, as always. So my understanding is that the game that's played is the report will come out and it looks better than normal. And then they revise the report a couple weeks later when nobody's paying attention and the news cycle has moved on. So that's basically how it is. So when the news comes out with the inflation reports, the unemployment report, the whatever, okay? You should trust at this point, it is proven many, many times that those reports are not accurate. It's just don't even waste your energy listening to them. But if you really want to know, you want to see what they revise it down to. So it's the revision that matters. So they do that quietly. Little stinkers. Okay. So that's the kind of stuff you want to base. So the economy, is the economy doing as well as the Trump administration says it's doing right now? Is the economy doing as well as they say? No. Okay. So are we heading into, allegedly and entertainment purposes only, are we heading into a time period like what happened in 2020 or 2008? Yes. Now, if you've been paying attention, you might have already heard, you might want to look into this, that private, and I don't even, I just know how to explain this very, very briefly. But some of the banks, including JP Morgan, BlackRock, are now limiting how much private equity can be pulled out of their bank. That's kind of the first step where they're saying, no, you can't take, you can only take this amount of money out. Okay. So that is very indicative of a first step like it was in 2008. If you know what happened in 2008, it was not good. It was not good. You can look back and go watch the movie The Big Short. You will understand it. Okay. So for those of us who lived through it, I was young. I was pretty young. I didn't have as much to lose as I do now. So, the more you have to lose, the more you get a little nervous about stuff. So you want to just take precautions, And actually, I heard somebody say this the other day, which I thought was really interesting. When you're younger, like younger people are way more innovative because they have less to lose. They have less, and it's so true. It makes so much sense to me because they don't, they have so much time on their hands. They don't have that much money to be concerned that if they fail, they're not failing. You know what I mean? The failure is not that great. And so they tend to be very innovative. So, which is lovely. I love the idea that I love to see what this new generation, these younger generations are going to bring to the table, because they really, and we've been talking in the past about how these generations are more in touch with their spirituality too. So like who they really are. Is that true about younger generations? Like every new generation, yes. Are they more and more in touch with who they are, like who they truly are as sovereign beings, spiritual beings? Yes. And do we keep innovating based on that? Yes. Okay. So she says, so you guys, the lead team, Anne's guides have said that a time will come when we will no longer have access to money invested in banks and deposit boxes. Is that true? Yes, entertainment purposes only, and allegedly. So, will that be a long period of time? Meaning, will it be a long period of time we don't have access? No. Okay. So there will be like, will it feel like if they don't close, there'll be a run on the bank type of thing? Are they going to try to control a run on the bank? Yes. Okay. And if is one way to prepare ourselves right now is just to have a little cash on hand, a little cash? Yes. Do we have to have a lot of cash on hand? No. Should we have at least a month's worth of, yes, a month worth of bills, food, access, whatever you need to buy food, whatever. Yes. Okay. And if you have a little bit of food storage, a little bit, you don't need to go like the 30-year stuff, but you could do that too. I eventually in this series will share with you some of the things that I've purchased. I'm not a prepper in terms of like end time preppers or anything like that, but I do think there's some validity to having a few things on hand, and I will share a link. I'm going to pull it together, all the stuff that I've gotten so far, just in case people want to, kind of flip through. And that's just been based on some of my educating myself on what might be the best thing, if the power went out, which the power does go out in places. So like just to have some, backup stuff that I've never really done before. And I just thought, with this kind of stuff happening right now, it just seems maybe a smart thing to do. Okay. But I will let you know when it'll be by the end of this series that I'll have that together. Okay, so lead team. So she says there will be a turnover, a flip of sorts. What the heck does that mean? There'll be a turnover in the banks? Yes. Okay, does this mean, is she referring to fiat currency by chance? Or are they referring to? Yes. So are we referring to the US dollar not being the dominant currency? Yes. Okay. Is that going to be the flip of sorts? Yes. Is the flip of sorts meant to be digital currency? Yes. Okay. Is there anything we can do to stop this process? No. Do you recommend we just go with the flow? Yes. So we don't humans right now don't have control what the banks are doing. Is that correct? Yes. But taking out, would you recommend we take out 6 months of living expenses that if we can? Yes. So 6 months. More than 6 months? No. Okay, well, not everybody has 6 months, but if you do, would you recommend 6 months of food supplies, that sort of thing, if you can do that? Yes. I mean, a huge bag of dried beans can last a long time, and get some spices and, rice, go buy a big thing of, if you want a little sweet something, go buy a huge thing of M&Ms at Costco. I don't know if I'd buy M&Ms because of the dyes on them, but Cadbury eggs are out right now. Just go buy them, stick them somewhere, and just don't, put them there just in case or coffee, right? So coffee, just some of that stuff. Again, I will make a list of some of the stuff that I've got kind of on hand. Okay. All right. So when you say stocks will rise, then fall again, yes. Is that already happening? Yes. Are we in the fall again period? No, we're not. Okay. So stocks are going to rise again? Yes. Now, through my education, just be careful. So what really happens during this time, and I will ask the lead team, what tends to happen during this time is the banks, what they're doing is trying to get the retail investors in, like it's you and I, okay, to say, oh, here, we're going to buy on the dip, because that's a thing that we do, is we buy on the dip. We dollar cost average in, buy on the dips. But what they're trying to do at this period of time, and I will confirm with them, is to suck the retail investors in so they can continue selling their shares of things. Okay. So the more they can raise the prices, so then they can, the stock, the retailers come back in. They're like, okay, we're going again. They go back in, and then the banks are able to sell more of their shares. So this is a really weird time. And it has been for like a year, 2 years, which has really baffled some economists. And it's not that they've been wrong. It's just been a very tricky time, and stuff based on history it's been difficult to use what's happened based on history, because I don't think the US dollar hasn't gone through this particular situation before. So would you say that description is accurate? Yes. Am I missing anything from that? Is that true that the retail investors, that they're trying to sucker in the retail investors so the banks can continue selling more of their shares? Yes. Okay. Investment firms, those kind of things. Okay. So they're kind of playing games with the retail, which is you guys and us, me. They're just trying to take more of our money. Okay, so let's look at the astrology real quick about this. What's likely astrologically, when would this likely be taking place? So the astrology says financial disruption cycles affecting money systems have been active 2018 to 2026. So the astrology is offering the opportunity for financial disruptions through 2026. So this is, we're like, not quite through halfway 2026. A period often associated with market volatility and debates about financial stability. In the US chart, financial sectors have also been under strong pressure during the same time period through 2026. So, which historically can correspond with economic uncertainty. Okay, even though this is entertainment purposes only, you guys, will we be seeing the official decline of the economy? Like, will we actually see it in stock prices in the stock market within the year of 2026? Yes. Or will the stock market still be rising in early 2027? No. Again, entertainment purposes only. Do not use this as financial advice. Okay, so we should have some answers to the uncertainty basically by the end of 2026. Yeah, which would be nice. Let's just get it over with. Just peel the Band-Aid off. Just rip it off. Just rip it off. It's been, it's just been... that's how I described it. That's very professional of me. It's been, that's it. Okay, let's see. So could financial systems be entering a period of restructuring rather than permanent collapse? Yes. I mean, there's never going to be permanent collapse. I mean, it could be, will there be a permanent collapse of the US dollar? Yes. Will that be in 2026? Yes. Okay. You got to put all these things together. Out of all the different theories of why we're in Iran, the one I believe the most, I don't know for sure, but the one I believe the most has to do with banking. It has to do with this whole stable coin. And there's, what I heard somebody say is there's leaks in the system of us going globally to a digital currency. The leaks in the system are in the Middle East, the BRICS nations. Okay. So is that true, allegedly? Yes. Okay. So is the war on Iran primarily because of banking changes they want to make? Yes. Well, is it going to result, regardless of who wins the war, is it going to result in us being globally moved to a digital currency? Yes. You know, the banks always win, you guys, I'm sorry to say. And not just in the US. I mean, it's like there's some weird global, remember we were talking about the underbelly? In fact, I'll just show you in the next episode. I created an image, which is not, it's not, I created an image with AI to show you kind of how I feel about it. But it's not an original thought at all, you know. Because actually, when I was having Mabel AI create the image for me, she's like, "Oh yeah, this is a typical way people look at the world." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." But it's just weird because I was like, "Yeah, do this and this," and she's like, "Oh yeah, that's how people see it." So, okay, could emotional reactions by investors create sudden rises and falls in markets? It's kind of a dumb question. The answer is yes. It's mostly by the banks again. But the emotional reactions, yeah, just be careful not to get too sucked into it. Tip, if you want to dip your toe is fine, but just be careful about all of your finances. Because I've mentioned this before. I remember I was in 2008. I was probably 35 or something. And I remember when that happened, my colleagues in higher education who were ready to retire, like there were people who were like, they're retiring in 6 months, they're retiring in a month, they're retiring, and their savings got completely wiped out. I remember that. And I remember saying to my husband, well, in terms of like us learning how to invest, we always were taught in our 30s, even our 20s, when I was reading on it, that when you get closer to retirement, you shouldn't be in such risky, like you shouldn't be in like just aggressive funds, right? Well, apparently they were. So, and I just remember being like, oh my God, their entire savings. Because you know how hard it is to like save for 30 years, you know, and build up that account, cut, clear, cancel. It doesn't have to be hard. But yeah, I just remember that happening. And so let's make sure that doesn't happen to anybody here. Okay. Again, not financial advice, just something to consider. Okay. Is public fear about banking access? Could that create instability inside financial systems? Yes. Yes. It's already happening in the gold and silver area because people are calling for gold and silver that they've invested in and they've never done that before. Well, now they're finding out that maybe there's not as much gold and silver that those investments said they had because they've been leveraging, you know? And so is that true about the gold and silver? Yes. Okay. It's crazy crap. But this is exactly the kind of thing that happened in 2008. And did we learn? Yep, they're saying yep. And now they were going to say nope, they didn't learn, you know? So just protect yourself, protect yourself. Could financial pressure encourage societies to rethink how money systems are structured? Yes. So that's a very good thing. It's going to be a very good outcome. Are we going to have a really positive outcome from this next collapse, let's say? Yes. So that's cool. So just get through the collapse, save yourself, you know, do well, make good decisions during the collapse. And then, and again, nobody knows the timing of it, but the astrology, that's why I want to talk about the astrology. The astrology is saying end of 2026, well, in the 2026 period. So that's good information. I mean, why not, you know, use it as part of the consideration. Well, will governments intervene more strongly in financial systems during this upcoming period of instability? Yes. Does that mean more printing of US dollars? Yes. Which is is that then going to really hurt the US dollar by doing that? Yes. Does our Treasury know that? Do the feds know that's what's going to happen? Yes. Do they want that to happen so that we move to this digital currency? Yes. So just know they've got a plan. Do they got a plan? Yes, but they're protecting themselves. So the banks are protecting themselves. So again, you know. Okay, let's see. How much further? All right, we'll do one more section here. So financial advice because we're kind of talking about finances from the book, okay? So the guide said, resist the desire to participate in greed. Resist the desire to participate in greed, which to me, and I'll ask the SGs, the lead team, what that means is resist the desire to participate in greed, like hoarding, like food. Although if you're going to like buy extra food because in case your neighbors aren't aware of what's going on or your family members, then that's one thing, right? Because you're like, well, you know what? But resist your desire to participate in greed could also be like, don't be too greedy during this time with the stock market. Like, understand that this is a pretty risky time, her guide said, keep finances liquid. Keep finances liquid. Invest, they literally gave these specific things. So invest in property if you can. I mean, it's, it's kind of late now. She wrote this book came out in 2024, but these passages were coming out in 2020. So I don't know if I'd be like jumping on the bandwagon now to go buy property. I'm certainly not going to. I mean, I own property, but I'm not going to go buy more. They did say, and again, this is not money financial advice. They said, do not fund your 401k. Now, I'll ask the lead team, but I think that's like, I mean, we have money in a 401k because if we pulled it out right now, we'd be penalized, but we're not putting it in the stock market necessarily. It's in a money market getting the interest right now, 3.5%, and we're pretty satisfied with that. She said, wait for another time when you have choice. Okay, wait for another time when you have choice. So the astrology periods of financial disruption cycles, again, 2018 to 26, have historically corresponded with investors reconsidering risk and where wealth is stored. Okay. In the U.S. chart, economic policy sectors remain active through the mid 2020s. So we're like at the end of that, which often coincides with debate about economic strategy and financial security. So lead team, when Anne's guide said, or she calls them angels, I think, when Anne's angels said, resist the desire to participate in greed, were they referring to like being coaxed into making investments that might be risky because of greed? Yes. Okay. Is investing in silver and gold part of that? Would that be greed? No. Okay. Okay. Again, not financial advice. Should we resist the desire to hoard 30 years of food in our house? Yes. Okay. So, but you're saying prepare for maybe 6 months. And the only reason I really like that is that if you can do it, is that when things get a little cray-cray and unstable out there, even in the grocery stores, it can allow the people who weren't aware of it to do what they need to do. And now you can just sit back, and let them get what they need at that point. So I think that's really good. I think it kind of spaces things out, right? And it allows more of us just to remain calm during that time, while people who are not calm, we can help balance that, I think. That's just kind of my sense. Okay, so keep financials liquid. Are you recommending, like, just to have easy access to your financials? Yes. Okay. Invest in property. Would you say invest in property for most of us at this time in 2026? No? Okay. Again, don't take this as, do it if you can, Are you suggesting in our 401ks that we stay like in a money market type of thing? Yes. Are you suggesting we cash out our 401ks? Is it that liquid? No. Okay. All right. Okay, so I decided I did want to end these with a love story because remember our guides for March told us. I just didn't get to it in the last 2 episodes. The guides told us as self-care for March that if we're going to make up stories in our heads about people and situations, that we should make up love stories with happy endings. So here's the love story that Mabel has given to us with regards to these messages from Anne's angels, okay? If economic pressures begin appearing inside systems, it does not necessarily mean collapse. Sometimes pressure reveals where change is needed. I like change. I'm looking forward to it. It hasn't been good for a lot of people, and I'm looking forward to the change. So we return to the guiding question. What's the best that can happen through it all? Because we're so focused usually on what's the worst that's going to happen. What is the best that can happen? Perhaps people become more thoughtful about how financial systems work. Look at how much more I'm educating myself, I'm sure the rest of you are doing that too. Perhaps societies begin building economic systems that are stronger and more balanced. It's not been balanced at all. There's been a lot of scamming going on, a lot of corruption. There's a lot of corruption, Perhaps uncertainty becomes the catalyst for wiser decisions. Okay, so in the next episode, we continue examining, so this will be tomorrow night, the economic passages of the book. The text begins describing market plunges, deflation, and rising prices for goods. So we're going to explore that tomorrow. Okay? All right, I'll see you then. Bye-bye.